The number 12 completes a cycle, and this highly mystical trump represents the completion of the great work. This startling design might also be represented by a cross above a triangle within a tau, that is, a 4 multiplied by 3 and enshrined in the universe. The pack of tarot cards, otherwise known as the Book of Tarot, which word is an anagram of rota, the wheel or cycle, consists in truth of a magical, hieroglyphic and Kabbalistic alphabet, to which are added 4 decades and 4 quaternions, which enshrine the mystic significance of the Wheel of Ezekiel. The true aim of the great work is to volatilize the fixed, having accomplished the fixation of the volatile. By a mystical rectification and a subsequent sublimation is the universal medicine to be obtained, and so is also the art of the transmutation of metals, by which art, indeed even the most gross and impure substances, may be at once changed into pure and living gold. But no one will succeed in this magical transmutation until he has learned to despise earthly riches and is content with the holy poverty of the true adept. So then, if anyone obtains this sublime secret, he will treasure it with almost superhuman care, and it will so never be divulged to any other human being. It must be self-attained. The secret matter of the philosopher is composed of volatilized salt, of mercury which has been fixed, of purified sulfur. This perfected matter is the azoth of the philosophers. The salt is only to be volatilized by condensation from the 7 rays of Sol, which are the respective soul essences of the 7 metals. The mercury is fixed by saturation with the solar essence. The sulfur is purified by the heat of the 7 luminous rays. When a man is fully initiated, he has a knowledge of all those processes, and he knows that he holds these secrets under the penalty of death. The tarot can preserve you from danger of such punishment by rendering you incapable of the commission of such a crime. Remember the histories of Prometheus and Tantalus. The former stole the sacred fire from heaven and transferred it to the earth. The latter violated the privacy of nature to seize the secrets of divinity. Remember also the fate of Iaxion, who attempted to ravish the queen of the sky. Remember also the cross and the stake. Ponder over the long martyrdom of Raymond Lully, the inconceivable sufferings of Paracelsus, the madness of William Postel, the wandering life and miserable end of Cornelius Agrippa. Love God, gain wisdom, and preserve unutterable silence. The picture shows a man with his hands tied behind his back, and a rope is seen tied around his ankles, the other end being attached to a beam, so that when the card is held with its number at the top, the man appears to be hung by his feet. Levi, in his dogma, gives the following statement. This hanged man, then, is the adept bound by his engagements, spiritualized, as is shown by his inverted position. He is Prometheus subjected to everlasting torture as a punishment for his glorious theft, or similarly, he is Judas the traitor, and his sufferings threaten anyone who should reveal the great arcanum. Lastly, to the Qabalist, this hanged man, who corresponds to his 12th dogma, that of the promised Messiah, is a protest against that Saviour whom the Christians worship. And they seem to still be saying to Jesus, "How canst thou save others? Thou couldn't save thyself." An effort must be now made to learn the truth concerning the greatest and most consoling, yet the most formidable of the minor arcana, concerning death. Now in truth, death is but a phantom of your ignorance and fear. Death has no existence in the Sanctum Regnum of existence. A change, however awful, demonstrates movement, and movement is life. Those who only have attempted to check the disrobing of the spirit have tried to create a real death. We are all dying and being renewed every day, because every day our bodies have changed to some extent. Be troubled lest you soil and tear your bodily raiment, your coat of skin, but fear not to leave it aside when the time has come for a period of repose from the work of this world. Leave not your material garment forever, until the time for your departure has come. That is, destroy not your own life, for it may be that you would awake to find yourself naked, chill, and ashamed. And it may be too that such a corpse feels its own necropsy. Do not attempt to preserve the bodies of the dead. Let nature do her work at once. Let there be no worship of a dead body, for it represents but the ragged old clothes of a life. Do not grieve for the beloved dead, for they are even more alive than you. If you regret the loss of their affection and support, you may still love their memory, and waft messages to them, and perchance may receive an answer. For by the aid of the keys of Solomon, the barriers of the thither world, the plane of disembodied beings, and even of the heaven, may be raised for a moment. Understand well that the life current of the progress of souls is regulated by the law of development, which carries the individual ever upward, and there is no tendency to a natural fall. Souls shall only fall who elect to descend and choose the evil rather than the good. The material plane on which you live is a prison to you, and if souls fall and come back to it, they become again imprisoned. If you desire to communicate with those who have passed on, you must. But be warned in time against many deceptions, for your fancied souls in heaven may be but phantoms of the air, elementaries, shadows of humanity, energized by elemental beings, mere senseless astral forms, and of no more value than the mirage of dreams. Necromancy and Goetia, which is evil magic, do produce such shells and demons, apparitions of deceit. If, however, you are an adept of the true white higher school, you will at all times condemn and challenge the practice of such fatal science. The only possible mode of communion with souls of a higher sphere who have passed beyond the terrestrial aura by reason of the change called death is by dream or ecstasy. But on waking to common consciousness, there will be no recollection present in the mind of what has passed, because owing to the change of plane, each idea necessarily suffers a change of form. A recurrence of the dream or a return to ecstasy recalls what has gone before. It is a curious fact that most persons fail to remember anything of good and happy dreams, even although they do often recall dreams of sin and folly and absurdity. The reason being that these latter are more closely, and good ideals are less closely, related to our materially minded lives on earth. Now, if the purely minded adept and pupil of the higher magic does seriously aspire to communion with a soul on the plane above him, the true way is as follows. But again, you must take warning that unless the aspirant is pure and the strong with health and wise in procedure, there will be a grave risk of disordering the mind, or of catalepsy, or even of death. Every puerile and commonplace thought must be banished from the mind, for if this is not done, and if a ceremony of such awful solemnity be entered upon lightly, frivolously, or from a vain curiosity, there will come a moment when the dread King of Earth will appear and punish. The mind and emotions must then be raised to a pitch of sublime exaltation, proceeding from a pure and disinterested love. Bring to remembrance all the sweet sayings of the departed one. Formulate her aims and good efforts. Collect around you all that belong to her and reminds you of her face, form, and personality. Observe the dates of her birth and death, and of any special events which have drawn you two together. Choose such a day. Prepare for this date by daily retiring to a quiet room, if possible where she has lived or where she has been, and pass an hour there in darkness, or at least with the eyes shut, pondering over her words and ideas, conversing in imagination with her as listening to her conceived answers. When the day comes near, you must for 7 days, and should even for 14 days, abstain rigorously from useless communications with other persons, from follies, from demonstrations of affection to all others, and from every form of physical and mental excess. Take but 1 meal a day, and drink no stimulant or narcotic fluids. When the fateful day has come, take a portrait of the beloved one. A sun picture is best, photograph, or a painting. It should be one executed with the greatest care and detail. With great care and delicacy, prepare the room and the collected objects which have belonged to the deceased. Make them all spotlessly clean and give especial care to the portrait. Place it in a good position and decorate the frame with the flowers she loved. During the day, you should pass several hours in the chamber alone, seated in contemplation of the portrait and the ideas and reminiscences of the dead friend. When the evening has come, you must bathe and clothe yourself in clean linen, and put on a white mantle. Enter the sacred chamber, fasten the door, and perform the conjuration of the 4 elements. Upon a chafing dish, you then burn wood of the laurel with aloes and incense. There must be no other light in the room. When the wood and incense have burned down, and the fire is at the point of extinction, then in a deep and solemn voice call 3 times in succession upon the name of the beloved dead one. This you must do with all your force of heart and of spirit, with intense willpower. Close the eyes and cover them with the hands. Sink on your knees and pray. Then at last, after a solemn pause, call softly and with sweet voice the name of the loved one 3 times, and open your eyes and see.